Hey, welcome to my home today. Dr. Randy here for another Facebook Live event for just about 4 or 5 minutes. And I want to talk about what do you do when you guys disagree about parenting. And this happens in a lot of families, and I think especially now with so many families being hunkered down with this COVID-19 pandemic. We're starting to get out more, but I've noticed more tension in relationships, and parenting can be a problem and challenge under the best of circumstances. But when mom and dad don't agree on parenting, boy, that's a real challenge. And if you're divorced or blended families, you know the added stress that can be. So I want to talk a little bit about the power of being intentional in parenting. Now, one of the things we know, and working with thousands of couples over the years, is that when there's a disagreement with parenting, it creates a tension in the marriage. And we've always encouraged people to go behind closed doors to work out those disagreements. You must present a unified front to the kids. You got to be on the same page. And even if you agree to disagree, don't disagree in front of the kids, because here's what happens. Children, as you know, if they see a disagreement between mom and dad, they're willing and able and anxious to be able to drive a wedge in there and say, well, mom said, or dad said, or you go talk to your mom, or you go talk to your dad. And maybe you have kids that do that. They'll come to mom for one thing and dad for something else, knowing that mom will say yes and dad will say no, or vice versa. And so get on the same page is really critical. Training your children together will strengthen communication and cohesion and reduces stress, and it'll help your children thrive. Now, if you're in a blended family or you're divorced, to be able to work with your ex-spouse, to be able to come to terms, if you can, on agreeing on how to parent. But as you know, and this happens in a lot of families, mom is going to parent in one way and dad is going to parent in a different way. One thing is really important is don't draw the children into those kind of disagreements. And when kids try to push the button to say, well, mom says, or mom allows me to do that, or whatever, or they start bringing up issues about dad in your home, don't go there. Give your kids a gift by just saying, hey, this is the way we do things here, and this is why. And as a Christian family, many times you'll have a ex-spouse who maybe has totally different values than you do when it comes to parenting, and that can be very disturbing, and you want to change your ex-spouse, and you're not going to do that. What you can do, though, in your home is to provide an environment where the kids see love, they see attention, proper attention, they see proper discipline, they see a mom or a dad that loves God and follows God, and those things will make a big difference. Kids, listen, kids are great recorders. They record everything that goes on, but they're not real good at interpreting, and that's why they're picking up everything going on in your home, and they're going to be interpreting it for themselves. That's why it's important as a parent to be able to share with your children why you do what you do. In other words, they understand your motivation of love and concern for them. They may not always agree with it, but that's important. Now, here's the thing. We started this by talking about what do you do when you don't agree with your spouse on parenting. And if I can be just really blunt for a minute, parenting is for grown-ups. And I say to parents, listen, you get one shot at this thing, and if you're a parent, you got to grow up. It's not about your feelings or your emotions or your hurts or your desires. Train up a child in the way he should go, the scripture says, and when he's old, he or she won't depart from it. And that puts the responsibility on us as a parent and grandparents to see the unique bent that God has placed in each of our children or grandchildren, and then try to parent them in that direction. Now, if your spouse doesn't agree with you, sometimes you have to compromise, sometimes you have to agree to disagree, but to the extent that you guys can be on the same page, even if both of you are doing something that's a little different than the way either of you would want to do it, the key is that you're standing together. That's important. So intentionality is really important in parenting. Set a goal. What kind of a child do you want to raise into an adult? What kind of an adult do you want? We have a whole teaching series called Raising Responsible Adults, because at the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal. before you know it, these years are going to pass. You'll look back, and I pray you'll look back with fondness. So while you're all kind of hunkered down, mom and dad, get behind closed doors, talk about the issues, get them resolved, and get on the same page. When you do, that's intentional parenting. Well, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be back again over the weekend. In fact, I'll be back on Monday on Memorial Day, and we'll talk a little bit about the power of memories. I hope you'll join me then. Have a great weekend.